How you doing? This next video is about 6 reasons why you should stop drinking alcohol. These videos are all about, I suppose, hindsight from me. I've been there. I've drank for a long time, and I'm coming from the perspective that I wish I had stopped drinking alcohol a long, long time ago. I wish I'd have stopped when I was in my early 20s. I wish I'd never started, to be honest with you. But that's not the way it is. That's not the way it is for anyone that's coming to see our videos here or whether they're within the program. So I just wanted to let you know everything that I'm saying to you, I've made all these mistakes. I've gone through all of this, and I wish I hadn't. So a lot of it is coming from regret, but experience of what I've learned since I stopped drinking alcohol. So the first reason is basically time. The clock is ticking for all of us. There's the average lifespan is about 27,500 days, and I think I just passed my 20,000th day. So 7,500 days left on the average time span. So time is precious. Every second counts. Every second is worth it. Alcohol speeds up time. While you're drinking, it speeds up time. While you're wasted, it's just flying by. When you've got a hangover, you wish you didn't have the hangover. And you're getting the same experiences over and over and over again. I used to have this dream when I was a kid that I was in this forest. I was in hell. I died and gone to hell. And the devil made me chop down trees. That was my penance. And every time I chopped down a tree, there was a tree that kept appearing on the other side of the forest. So it was just repetitively doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's funny enough, I went into forestry later on in my life, so there you go. But this was, for me, looking back at my alcohol life, it was this repetition, doing the same thing over and over again. And it was, you might be with other people, you might be with different environments, but you're still in that same situation. You're still in the same situation in your own mind. Now, time is also in your memories. Your past, alcohol robs you of a lot of these memories. One of the things I did when I stopped drinking alcohol was I pulled out this box of photographs that I hadn't seen in a while. This is about 3 or 4 months after I'd stopped drinking alcohol, and pulled out these photographs. And this is, I'm talking about a long time ago, when these photographs were taken, when you had to go in and buy a roll of film, and then once you'd taken your 24 or 36 shots, you had to go in and get them developed into the chemist or a specialist. And I think it came out about £30 or something like that for 36 shots. So it's not like nowadays where you can just take your shots and you can take your shots of anything. So back then you had to be fairly discriminatory about what you were going to photograph. And the times that you photograph, or the times that I photographed, were times of great pleasure, celebrations, times when you were partying, times when you were having fun, those times in your life, weddings and marriages, and confirmations, and all of those things that are fun and that you want to remember later in life. And as I was leafing through these photographs, I realized that 90% of those photographs I didn't remember. And that's what a photograph is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a spark of a memory. So you look at this and you go, do you remember that? 90% of them I didn't remember because I've been drinking. And it doesn't matter if it's the earlier on in the evening and then you get drunk later on, because the alcohol affects the whole thing. Another way alcohol affects your long-term memory is that when you're doing the same thing over and over again, there is no distinction between the memories. It becomes like one big blob. You can't really remember individual events. That changed a lot when I stopped drinking alcohol. My memory started coming back, and I can remember things that happened in that first year. After we stopped, the holidays we went on, the times that just a lot of different stuff have stuck since I stopped drinking alcohol. So I do regret that I didn't stop sooner, as I said in the beginning, but I do rejoice that I started when I did. The things I've done because I started controlling my drinking, the mountains that I've climbed, real and figuratively speaking, the views that I've seen from the top. Time is your future, and it's compounding. Often we speak about compounding in terms of money, finances, but it's better to speak about these things as from a psychological point of view, experiences, your experiences with places, with people, with just in life in general. And in terms of time, it's never too late to stop. My dad was in his late 70s when he stopped, and he added a few years to his life. Number 2, health. Going back to my dad and stopping and adding those few extra years, he wouldn't have added those years to his life if he didn't stop drinking. 3.5 million people every single year die from drinking alcohol. Over 200 health conditions are caused through alcohol drinking, and that equates to debilitation of some form or another. Alcohol contributes to numbing or masking problems that you might have inside because you're not able to feel them. So a lot of the things that were happening to me, because there was a numbing overall, physically and mentally, it was only when I stopped drinking alcohol and started peeling back the layers of my life, that I started to discover that there was underlying things that I needed to sort out as well, which a lot of them I have sorted out. I never made time for my health when I was a drinker, and I think one of the problems with that is that most people don't look after their health until they're forced to make time for illness. Like I said, there are over 200 conditions, and the majority of hospital admissions, the majority of people who go to the doctors these days go there because of their lifestyle choices. They're choosing to care more about their short-term buzz, short-term feeling, rather than their long-term happiness. Now, what it should be about is quantity, yes. You want to live as long as you can, but also about quality. You want to have a quality life. The Dalai Lama said that happiness is the highest form of health. And the best investment you can make in your own life is through your health. And I think a healthy life has that happiness as an inbuilt-in structure. We teach a thing called the vigorous cycle, which involves 6 different concepts. It's diet, exercise, hydration, getting enough water in you, sleep, making sure that you're getting a good sleep, a good quality sleep every night, controlling what you put into your body physically, and controlling what you put into your body psychologically. The news that you're listening to, the people that you're allowing to input stuff into your mind. And finally, one of the things that I noticed when I stopped drinking alcohol was just weight loss. I lost over 60 pounds in that first year, and I felt great. When I look back, I've become used to feeling good now. Go back and have a look at that first video where I show you myself in the first video, and you see how much of a difference that made just in my appearance. But I'm telling you, it made such a bigger difference internally and psychologically as well. The third thing is relationships. Now, we're talking about at our age, I'm 55 now as I speak, and I love my relationships. Getting close to people, especially the people that are close to me, means more to me now than anything else. I think the older you get, the more your relationships mean to you. And I'm not saying that from a validation point of view. I don't need validation of anyone anymore. I think that was one of the problems. I think when you've got low self-esteem, you need a lot more validation from people. I think just friendships warm the heart and lighten the soul. I don't know who said that, but it sounds good anyway. Alcohol in general is a selfish drug. It's not a social drug. I mean, being social is liking being around people, related to and devoted to or characterized by friendly companionship, being with people and loving being with people. And again, sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees, and it's only when you're outside of the behavior that you can look back in and you notice how it was affecting you, how badly it was affecting you from all different aspects of life. I'll talk about that in a minute. For me, it was going back to Robert Louis Stevens' book, Jekyll and Hyde. That's how I felt at certain stages. I was having these mood swings, irritability, ineffectiveness in all walks of life. One step forwards, two steps back. Was always worried about something. I always felt not depressed, but a lowness, and a lowness. You know, sort of this internal conflict all the time, wild imbalances, incongruity, and cognitive dissonances. I mean, we'll talk about that in another video. But I think you need friendships in life, and friendships are a two-way street. For me, it just wasn't there. I mean, I was listening to people. My friends were drinkers, and they were friends of mine because they were drinkers, not because we had a bond of anything else that was outside of that friendship. So, and a final thing with this kind of thing is just that from a value perspective is trust. I was losing a lot of trust. I'd lost a lot of trust from my family, from my friends, and it was only afterwards that I noticed how much of this trust that I'd lost, and all because of that up and downness of, not because I was dishonest or anything like that. I mean, there is a certain amount of dishonesty, but not as you're trying to pull the wool over people's eyes about anything important for them. It's more you're trying to cover up things for yourself. You know, honesty was, I was always telling what I called white lies, not big ones, depending on how you look at it, but it was more to advance or to excuse my habit and my behavior. And again, we're talking about that cognitive dissonance, where you're telling things, you're trying to say things, you're trying to convince yourself that you're not really who you are. And connection is as I said, it's a two-way street. And alcohol is selfish. It's, you know, you're the one that gets the buzz. Nobody else gets the buzz. I mean, everyone else has to listen to the verbal diarrhea that's coming out in the opposite direction. You know, when we're talking about that, you have to talk about communication. Communication is essential, and it's a two-way street, as we said. You know, my relationships are much stronger now because I like myself much more. I don't have that inner conflict, that cognitive dissonance. You know, when you have a conflict inside of you, it's much more difficult to look at yourself in the mirror and to like what you see. You know, self-assurance makes it easier for you to be around other people, but it also makes it easier for other people to be around you. There is a certain solidity in what you're saying. There is a certain reliability in that self-assurance. There's a certain trust and integrity. You know, this is all important. It's important for you as a person, for that self-esteem, and for your, as I say, for your own integrity, but it's more important for your relationships. You know, many of my past relationships were based around alcohol, not much else, which is very tenuous strings to be holding onto. You know, the three personal relationships that I have hold more to me than anything else. First one is my son, being a much better father and a friend. My partner, my ex-wife, who died a long time ago, but my current partner Esther, in life and in business, and she's even stopped drinking a couple of years ago. And my dad, you know, and he stopped a few years before he passed, as I said. And he had much more time and energy himself. I have much more time and energy for him after I stopped drinking alcohol. After a lifetime of him inspiring me, you know, him telling me that I inspired him was something that made me very proud. You know, and it was very special for me, for him to say that to me before he went. And my family, I mean, I love my family to bits. So relationships, they just mean, I think your relationships will really blossom after you get this drug out of your life. The next one is balance. Now, what I'm talking about with balance is when you're drinking, you're not really dealing with reality. Most alcohol is taken on an emotional level. You care more about it's, you know, you're talking about quenching your thirst, but you care more about quenching personal feelings. That's the way it happens later in life. It becomes habitual, and it becomes about pushing down anxieties that you don't want to think about. And partially that's because of the vicious cycle that you've got into with the alcohol. You create the problems, and you try and solve the problems by drinking and not thinking about them, but you create more problems. You never solve the problems. And I'm talking about not just exterior problems that you need to solve, but emotional problems. We think from the perspective of emotions first and then logic second. That's those rationalizations. It's that cognitive dissonance where you're trying to tell yourself, you're trying to convince yourself that what you're doing is right. You know, we talked about this with our culture. We live in a culture that makes people at best ambivalent about alcohol, and at worst they have just such positivity about alcohol, or they create the positivity surrounding alcohol, so it makes it easier to do. Now, since I've stopped drinking, we go across, balance across 7 different areas of your life: physical, intellectual, family, social, career, financial, and spiritual. And if you're trying to get to that best possible version of yourself, it needs a balanced look at all of these areas of your life. You're always going to be working for each one, and balance really means that you're not concentrating and focusing too much on one area, that you're getting a balance across the whole lot, because you need it all. You need to have a balance, otherwise, you know, as the word says, you're going to have an imbalanced life. So one area does feed another. You know, just as working against yourself in one area can have a detrimental effect on other areas of your life. You know, when you work on one area, it has a compounding effect on other areas of your life. You know, when you exercise better, it has a compounding effect and a knock-on effect to your sleep. When you eat better, you're able to exercise better and to think better. So it's all, as we say, the vigorous cycle. But this also works in that balancing area across across the whole of your life. The next one is finance. Now, you know, at our age, probably not worried about the cost of buying the alcohol. I mean, we moved to Spain, so the alcohol was the price of the alcohol was not really a factor, even though we weren't earning great money at the time. The cost of alcohol here is very cheap, so it wasn't a big factor in it. It played a small role. Also, the costs associated with being drunk. You know, you're getting taxis to come home because you can't drive. You're eating out because you can't be arsed to cook. All those kind of things. But there is a definite cost, and a much bigger cost in your life financially, with your reduced brain function. You've only got so much time, right? We've already covered that. I'm not suggesting that time is money or anything like that, but when you're more productive with your time, with the time that you spend on earning, it becomes a much more important part and parcel of what you're doing. So personal finance is vital in the second half of your life. You need to have a certain amount of money in order to have that quality of life guaranteed going forwards. You know, I feel like I'm certainly playing catch up in that area of my life, and I'm certainly more productive. I'm using my time better. I'm thinking clearer, and you know, the engine is running a lot smoother now that I've stopped drinking alcohol. The next one is general well-being. Now, I'm talking about this from a balance. Again, you know, that balanced look at your life. You're working on different areas of your life. You're working on different levels of your life. You're more solid. There's less friction. There's less neurotic anxiety, in the sense of everyone's got anxiety about moving forwards, and it pushes you to make yourself better. But you don't want a lot of that neurotic anxiety, which is just there for, and it's not really giving you any big benefits. Mental health, we were looking at congruency in your mind, looking at that balance again, moving forwards towards that best possible version of yourself, and you're less likely to be depressed, or you're less likely to suffer from other mental health issues. You know, your life goals around your best possible version of yourself. If you're working on something exciting, something that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. The vision pulls you forwards. That was Steve Jobs that said that. It's one of the only things that I liked about Steve Jobs. I'm not really an Apple guy, but I love that idea of a vision pulling you forward rather than something that's behind you, that's pushing you on. A lot of people are being pulled from behind. They're being pulled by their old life, by their old ideas, by their old habits, instead of being pulled forwards by the possibilities, the potential of their own life. You know, an exciting life might go faster, which it does. You know, when you're doing more stuff with your life, it's gonna go faster. Time is gonna speed up for you. But what a life that you're going to live. You know, some of the most exciting parts of your life haven't happened yet. That's a great thought. It's a great thought to hold on to. You know, for me, that was, as I said, one step forwards and two steps back when I was drinking, and really didn't care that much about life anymore. Stopped drinking, and within days, I was on a different buzz. I was on this buzz of trying to think about what I could do, what life had in store for me. And the more I got into it, the more I thought about what life had in store for me, and the more excitement I got. Happiness is another thing. You know, contentment is, for me, I'm not talking about going around with a big grin on your face all the time, although it's nice to be smiling, but just that contented feeling. You know, not having that upwards and downwards roller coaster of emotions life. Instant gratification gives you nothing of quality, nothing constructed. It's all superficial. You know, it's a great for the plot of a novel, instant gratification. Things happening so quickly, and it's all you're getting the buzz now. But it's not great for creating a good life. You know, sometimes you need to have that instant gratification in your life. You need to have something that is just in the moment for you and now, and you know, feel happy about something in the moment. But the more you work on your life outside of yourself, the more you work towards that best possible version of yourself, the less you need that. And there's much better ways of getting instant gratification, ones that don't give you that overall negative consequences. You know, in struggles and in hardships, it's a slow grind to move forward. It's step by step in life, but it's where you're going to find your strengths and your happinesses. You know, moving towards a deeper understanding of yourself, of other people, of the world, and just general well-being. So anyway, I'll leave it there for today. I'll speak to you in the next video, where we're going to be talking about moderation and why you should keep moderation out of your life.